Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
There are people out there all across the country pushing boundaries to grow the game of golf. Like champion speed golfer Lauren Cupp, who plays faster than anyone else. And Will Lowry, whose work in the golf community inspires more kids to get into the game. As a champion partner of the Masters, Bank of America supports everyone determined to find out what's possible. In golf and in life. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Bank of America N.A. member FDIC, copyright 2025, Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from Burger King, Buffalo Wild Wings, KFC, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a burger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Hello and welcome to Islanders Anxiety from Lighthouse Hockey and the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Dan Saracini. Joining me on this Sunday evening via Zencaster is my friend Michael Leboff. And Mike, I'm going to get right to it. Where were you for the historic events of Sunday, April 6th, 2025? And of course, I'm talking about the day that Marc Gatcomb scored his first 2-goal game in the NHL. A historic moment that NHL fans will definitely never, ever forget. Where were you for this historic moment?
I was on my couch watching, and it was Gatcomb. Well, yeah, we'll get to Gatcomb for sure, but we'll talk about the build up to his second goal, which was that another player scored in between, and
I heard rumors of this. But.
Yeah, what it was there's I mean, it's just gonna be. You're just going to hear about it ad nauseum if you listen to hockey podcasts or watch hockey broadcasts from now until basically the playoffs start, I would guess. And everyone's going to be covering the side of the story about Alex Ovechkin, what it's like to be Alex Ovechkin, what this means to the game, what it's like, for the Capitals, for Capitals fans, for the Ovechkin fans, people who grew up and that's their guy, maybe right. Russian hockey fans, and but what you won't hear, most places except for here, is the other side of the coin, which is not covered much in moments like these. You hear like the cliche, "Oh, you don't want to be the guy on the poster," and then of course it ends up being Ilya Sorokin. But I will say, like there was such an air of inevitability to this and to it coming against the Islanders. As soon as the schedule went out and You saw they played the Capitals twice. I'm sure we made the joke in September. I know a lot of other people did, like, oh, well, you can pencil Ovechkin in for the game tying goal on April 6th, and then the game passing goal, the record passing goal on April 15th or whenever they play him next to close out the season. And then when he scored twice against the Blackhawks on Friday, it felt it all of a sudden it felt scheduled, right? Like it felt like this was just like, pencil it in. It's against the Islanders. Of course, it's against the Islanders. That's the Islanders' role in the NHL for a couple generations now has been to be the on the other side of these things, to be the Washington Generals type team. And I don't think there's been a moment maybe quite as big as this, but it felt, like I said, it felt scheduled. All those people selling tickets for thousands of dollars and people buying tickets for thousands of dollars, the entire hockey world descending on Long Island for the game, because everyone kind of just knew, like you just knew that, of course, like if they were playing the Devils or the Tampa Bay Lightning or something, I don't think people would have acted the way they did in the lead up to it, where the way everyone was talking about it was not if he breaks the record against the Islanders. It was when. And as soon as that penalty got called, of course it was, I mean, if we really want to get into the weeds, if I had to script out how the goal would be scored, I would probably say, Casey Cizikas takes, kind of a needless offensive zone penalty, because that's just what he's been doing this season. Ends up in the penalty box. The broadcast said it was Pierre Engvall. Andrew Gross tweeted out, Pierre Engvall is now going to be the answer to a trivia question, even though it was Casey Cizikas who took the penalty. So all of those things would have been in the script too. And then as soon as that puck found Ovechkin, it was just, it was over. And I didn't feel any dread about it, honestly, in the lead up, because it was inevitable and kind of used to this thing. And but when it went in, it really, I don't know, it forced you to answer that question, or that prompt again about being an Islander fan, about being a fan of a team like the Islanders. There's a lot of professional sports teams out there, right? And there's a select few that feel kind of especially cursed and especially strangely kind of smited by the gods of their sports. I mean, there's right? Like, think about the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh Pirates, they're a team that loses because they're set up to lose. Like, they lose a lot of games. There's nothing really, like, it's cruel because the owner's doing it, but like, there's nothing, it doesn't feel like Will Cooley's heading pucks in past the Pirates, right? It's just, they're not being taken away, and there's not a referendum being voted on. There's not, their owner's not trying to put a sumo wrestler in goal. There's one of their other former owners isn't in jail, and so is another one. It's like it's
you just pencil them in for 100 losses and go on with your life.
Right? They'll just lose a lot of games in a row at one point, and and then there's other teams that are kind of in this weird fraternity. So when you see that one of them was playing Ovechkin in the spot, you just knew. And but it, like I said, it really makes you answer that question of, this is what you're signing up for. You're signing up to be the team. When you're an Islander fan, you're signing up to be rooting for and be emotionally invested in the team that is going to be on the other side of this. And after the game ended, like, just going about my day, I was thinking about how foreign it would feel. And I say this knowing the Islanders had the last dynasty in North American sports. I wasn't alive when that happened. I was years and years away from being an infant. So it's in my, I don't have any experience with it, but how foreign just the idea of the Islanders being on the other side of that moment felt. Like, I can't even wrap my head around it. A situation like that. So, and it makes you confront all those feelings that, yep, this is your lot in your sports life, is to be rooting for the New York Islanders, the team that is going to give up the 896th goal to the other break the next, whatever it is, the 958th goal to Gavin McKenna when he's playing for the Devils or something, right? Like, that's just who we are, and you have to kind of hope that one day it becomes worth it. But there's no guarantee of that. I will tell you that.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. We all kind of knew this is coming. I mean, they were talking about how this was like, the Islanders are on the schedule for April, twice in April. And, if he gets this, that, and the other thing, that'll be the game. And as soon as people started talking about that, it was like, yep, that's going to be the game. And I was praying that he was going to get a hat trick against the Blackhawks on Friday night. And I was almost thinking like, oh, thank God, Chicago is so bad. This actually could happen. And he had a shot, I guess, at the empty net, but he said after the game that he didn't want to score into the record-breaking goal into the empty net, that's fair. That's a pretty cool thing to do. But then you knew that I had a hope that maybe the Islanders would do, and I said this on Blue Sky, maybe the Islanders would do to the rest of the NHL what they've been doing to us all season, which is absolutely disappoint them in the most egregious way possible. And for the rest of the NHL, that would have meant shutting the Capitals out. People spending $900 or $1,000 to come to this game to watch Ovechkin score this thing. And wouldn't it be just the most Islanders thing of all time for them to play their best game of the season, walk out of their own arena with a 4-0 win, and have 17,000 people booing them because they came to watch one guy score a goal and they ended up getting a couple of goals by Marc Gatcomb or somebody like that, But unfortunately, we got option A, which was Ovechkin scores the goal. We're going to talk a lot about that in a minute. But another thing I put out on Blue Sky today, which was that if you had told me 20 years ago that Alex Ovechkin would become the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer with a goal against the Islanders, I would 100% have believed you because that's what the Islanders do, right?
Exactly.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. And there is people are like putting up all these pictures and videos of him early in his career and such.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like I could picture myself back then being like, oh, this is gonna be bad news for the Islanders in 20 years or so when this guy and I'm sure there's something that Sidney Crosby's got to accomplish at the end of his career that will come against the Islanders in a year or two or something. And
I'm going to bring him up again in a few minutes, but continue.
I mean, and so you're right. Like this generation of the Islanders, let's call it like the post 93 Islanders, which obviously starts with the Rangers winning a cup in 94. Starting with that, if you draw a line in the sand from that year on, it really just fits in with what you've kind of come to know, because they are, for the most part, very depressing, and they're very frustrating.
Yeah,
and it's cruel. It is unusual, and every once in a while you'll get sprinkled in with elation, and you're allowed to just relieve that baggage and your experience catharsis, but you have to work really hard to get to those moments and stick around through some really strange lows. And this isn't, and in a weird way, this isn't a low as much as like it feels very different from a lot of the other embarrassing stuff that's happened to the Islanders in my lifetime. Like, it's not even close to a lot of it. It's more of like, it just fits with who the Islanders are. Like, this is our role in this NHL universe, is just to be this team. That from now on, anytime you see, Ovechkin's goal, like, you're like, there's Simon Holmstrom and JG Pageau on the penalty. Of course, it was a power play goal. Of course, it was this terrible penalty killing team. And it just felt like fulfilling one of the Islanders' destinies, is more than anything. And so that's what it's just a very strange place to be. And like I said, it is forcing me just to be honest with myself and know that what else would you expect? Like, if you are mad and sad about it, go right ahead. But I just don't know what else you'd expect than the Islanders being the team that this happens to in front of a huge audience. And there's a red carpet rolled out at UBS Arena for the other team. Like, it's just that's who the Islanders are.
Right. Yeah. Especially this version of the Islanders, which
Yes.
we'll get to in a minute. Yeah. So, all right, let's go through the games, and we're going to talk about the other 2 games this week as well. We're going to get back into the Ovechkin thing in a few minutes, but reminder that we are on Patreon at patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. Membership gets you ad-free episodes, bonus podcasts, like our monthly mailbag, which we will be recording tomorrow night. So if you want to take part and listen into the mailbag, sign up for the Country Club tier. You get to ask a question and you get to listen to the episode, which is going to come out on Tuesday. So sign up today, patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. Okay, we are going to start backwards. We're going to start with Sunday's game and then work back until Tuesday's game, which now feels like it's 100 years ago. But basically today's game or Sunday's game, I just did it again, was a 4-1 win over the Washington Capitals. It started out 2-0 Islanders in the first period. Horvat from the slot from Holmstrom, who was behind the net, and then Gatcomb scores the first of his 2 goals of the game, crashing the net on a pass, a quote-unquote pass from Kyle McLean. That's one of the worst passes I've ever seen. I mean, the fact that this Gatcomb was able to punch this puck into the net really says a lot about his skill as a player. And I'm not even joking. Like, this pass was abysmal, as our most times Kyle McLean has touched the puck this season. But it was funny because we've talked about this a lot this season. This team loves to blow leads. It loves to disappoint. It loves to have one good period per game and then just coast for the rest. We just saw one of these the other day. And so it's 2-0 Islanders. The place is packed to the gills. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes too. People want to see Ovechkin score. It was a pretty boring period. And honestly, aside from the Ovechkin thing, was kind of a pretty boring game. And much like a lot of Islanders games this year, I took no pleasure whatsoever in this 2-0 win. I took no solace from it. I took no assurances from it. Like, hey, maybe they'll win this thing. Maybe they'll walk out of here with it. It was just, they're going to blow this, and that's going to be worse than watching Ovechkin score this goal. Where are you after the first period? It's 2-0 Islanders. They played, they didn't have as many shots as the Caps, but I mean, overall, they played a pretty good period, but pretty good in this case just meant pretty boring. Like, they got the 2 goals and kept the Caps from really doing much of anything. And it was a lot like a lot of the periods we've seen this year. Just, they walked out, they went to the locker room on top, but it did not feel good.
Yeah, and I mean, it felt like everybody was just waiting still.
Yes,
like it felt like you're sitting through a warm-up act. You're there to see an all-time great band and play the hits, and there's a warm-up act on, and you're trying to be like, yeah, that's cool. Like I like the lead singer Gatcomb. He's pretty cool, and you're just waiting, and that's just how it felt. It almost felt like I was working it. Like we were working the game in a weird way. Like we were hosting, the Islanders were hosting this moment.
Like a party.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're here to host this moment for another guy because his home is unavailable at the moment. And you're doing your best to make everyone comfortable. That's what it really felt like. The Islanders were just there to make everybody else comfortable.
Yeah.
Like every Capitals fan, all the media,
right? All the
people,
shots, yeah.
Like people parachuting in for this, and that's all I was thinking about during the game. I was like, the score really didn't matter. I love the Islanders. I'd love nothing more than them to hold on to this game and hook me back in. Maybe the Canadians are playing right now against the Predators.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I believe the Islanders are still in the playoff race. I'm not, but they're not eliminated yet.
Right.
But, and hell, I would love a couple more. Maybe we'll get one more meaningful game on Tuesday night if the Canadians lose tonight and we win today, and who knows, maybe that Rangers game on Thursday has some teeth to it. If they hold on to this lead, but at the same time, I'm just waiting. And even the Capitals seem to know exactly what was going to happen. They're like, yeah, we'll just wait. The Islanders will take the lead. That's fine. They've been so nice to us here tonight. So once and then we'll get a power play, and it'll probably be that number 53 guy who always seems to do this, and and then we'll score. And that's just what it felt like. Everyone was just playing their part until the big moment came. And if you had stopped me after the intermission and said, how does the rest of this game played out, I would just be like, I'm sure that I'm only sure of one thing. I don't really know about the final score because it doesn't matter, but I know one thing is going to happen, and that is what did happen. So, but I know there's, like you said, some people were like, oh man, this is typical that the Islanders are like just playing a boring game and holding on, holding, Ovechkin out. But I was like, it's the end of the first period. Like,
right. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people were tuning into the Islanders for the first time this year, as expected. And they don't really understand the cadence of an Islanders game the way that you and I and our listeners do.
Well,
But
the one thing that really made it obvious that everyone was just playing a part in this all the world's a stage, Shakespearean Ovechkin, the Alexander the Great Shakespearean Islander tragedy was that like 5 minutes into the game, Ryan Pulock gets the puck behind the net and just like skates it to Alex Ovechkin in the slot. That was just
so bad.
And it's just been so and on you just said it right. The last time a lot of these people have probably paid attention to the Islanders was like 4 or 5 years ago when they were in the Eastern Conference Final, and Ryan Pulock made that save, and Eddie Olczyk was in the building to call that save,
and Kenny Albert too. The whole crew.
Kenny Albert, right. That's the exact same crew, and there he is. Instead of rimming the puck around the net to someone on the other team, he just skates it right out to the guy that you can't do that to. But luckily they didn't give it up then, because that would have been a little bit different from the way that it scored. Like, had Ryan Pulock just skated it to Ovechkin to score, then I'd be like, all right, this is a little more, a little different. Please don't bring out a red carpet right now.
Yeah, Pulock was really bad in this game, and he's been playing for the other team all season long, and it's enough already. I mean, we're gonna talk about Anthony Duclair towards the end of this first half, and I kind of wish they would send Ryan Pulock home too. Like, just let the guy go home and rest, because I can't take this anymore. But you mentioned before, everybody's kind of waiting for the big moment. There's kind of this air in the building here, even with the Islanders up 2-0. And sure enough, about 5 minutes in the second period, we all get it. It's a penalty, totally needless Casey Cizikas penalty, and a beautiful cross ice pass from Tom Wilson finds Ovechkin more or less in his spot in the left circle, and he got all of that one. Like, he really laid into it, and nobody was stopping this shot. And like you actually took the words out of my mouth a second ago. Like, this wasn't like a bullshit, off Sorokin's mask and in, or off somebody's back and, off of Sorokin's left skate and in, or some kind of dumb thing like that. This was a legitimate, insane goal that really Alex Ovechkin has made his sort of calling card for his entire career. That made me feel a lot better about it. Like, nobody was stopping this shot. Yes, the Islanders suck on the penalty kill, but I mean, they had gotten better about it, but it doesn't matter. Like, this is just an unstoppable shot. We are going to be seeing it forever, so I'm totally fine with it, whatever. And the game at this point, it's 2-1 Islanders, and now we are in for a 20-minute long ceremony featuring a carpet, speeches, handshakes, an exchange of gifts, and all kinds of stuff, and hugs, and people were kind of losing their minds on my timeline. Not just Islanders fans, but other fans, like, why are they doing this now? Why don't they do this after the game? Why don't they do this at home? Whatever. My feeling is, and again, if you feel differently, that's fine. I get it. But like, my feeling is, this is literally a once in a lifetime event. I'm perfectly happy not watching the Islanders for a few extra minutes, and it's okay that they did this. They're not going to do this every week. Like, this is just a one-time thing. They're going to have a thing, I'm sure, in Washington on Thursday when they play back there. And, as far as the Islanders' participation in this, where they lined up, Anders Lee had everybody shaking his hand, and he shared a couple of moments in Russian with Romanov and Sorokin, and a couple more minutes with Sorokin. He got his stick after the game and all that stuff. To me, I kind of like that stuff. I know some people are like, oh, why are they giving him this much attention? I liked it. And I thought, and again, I hate this word. It was a very classy gesture by the Islanders to be this way. Patrick Watt talked about it after the game. I'm sure Spencer Carberry is going to talk a lot about it. I think the Islanders gain a lot more by being very gracious and very welcoming in this instance than they would if they were like all pouty and petulant about it and be like, let's get this started. That's not how they operate. And I'm kind of glad they didn't. Wayne Gretzky came out, said some words. Of course, he said some nice words about Bill Torrey, Brian Trottier, Butch Goring, losing games at Nassau Coliseum, got everybody on his side, and it was fine. I was totally fine with this whole thing. And I get it that people aren't going to be, but man, the Islanders have put me through so much this year that has made me so mad at them. I can't be mad at the Capitals doing this and then the Islanders playing their part too. What did you think of this? Are you kind of in agreement? It sounds like you're more in agreement with me than the people who are kind of mad that this whole thing was kind of dragging on and on.
Yeah, I am. It was a little just weird at first. Like it felt like a little,
for sure, yeah.
It felt like a little jolty. But I will say, like, this is kind of been a theme of ours under this regime, is that the Islanders are cast as this monolithic, regressive organization, and their general manager is like the poster child for that. He is the ultimate hockey man, and just trying to get the game to go back to the 50s, where you're just taking each other's teeth out with your stick, and people are smoking cigarettes on the bench and all sorts of stuff, right? But the truth is the exact opposite. Like, the Islanders are bizarrely have turned into like the classiest organization in terms of how they treat other teams. They always do the thing with Montreal. Anytime the Canadians come, they show a little video and pay homage to the Canadiens dynasty, and then the Canadians do it back to the Islanders. Patrick Waugh, I thought, was hilarious after the game. Talked about how he said, remember when Paul Maurice brought up that the team watched Dmitry Kulikov's 1,000 game ceremony. You can go back last year too to when Cal Clutterbuck hurt Eric Brandstrom, and then Brady Tkachuk afterwards was like, everyone came over and made sure he was okay from that team. Like, that's just the type of group they are. I mean, even when Tony DeAngelo signed here, he mentioned about how he was like really interested about how this team works, because he's heard that everyone sticks around forever, and the way they operate is very tight, and they're just like very well behaved in a way. So to Islander fans, it shouldn't have been a surprise that they got a call from the Capitals in the league and said, like, look, this is what we want to do. Yeah. Bells and whistles. It's going to be a whole thing. It's going to basically be as if this is happening at Capital One Arena, except it's happening at UBS. There's going to be speeches by players who are not on your team. There's going to be a speech by a guy who played for the Rangers and also beat you guys, ended your dynasty. Yeah. The commissioner will speak. Then the guy who scored a bunch of goals against you will also speak. Your team will sit there and the Islanders are probably like, yeah, what else can we do for you? Because that's just what they've been doing. Like, that's who they are. Right. And I
mean, Ted Leonsis was there. Like, he was getting interviewed in the middle of the game, right?
It's it's just like that's just and it is like a point of pride, because as we've said all along, like, the reason this team was so hard to watch get broken up with watching the uncles kind of one by one get traded or retire, with Bailey, Clutterbuck, now Nelson, Martinov, of course, is on his way out, and who knows with Lee, and it's because, like, you do feel like that they are the good guys in a way. Like, this is a team that has done it the exact right way. They aren't they didn't tank at any point. When they did tank, the guy that they tanked for bolted on them. They've kind of put a lot of emphasis, maybe too much emphasis, on character and being good in the room. And that there's something romantic about that, and rooting for a team like that in this day and age of sports, where everything else is judged on like efficiency, and intangibles are kind of just cast aside, and that's really wiped out a lot of the romance, not just in hockey, just sports across the board. So yeah, I mean, I thought the Islanders did they did exactly what they've been doing as a team and as an organization for the last almost decade now. And what is one of the most frustrating parts about trying to convey that message when everyone's got the online jokes, the LOL Lou, like, oh, Tony DeAngelo's got to shave his beard now, et cetera, like that kind of stuff, is that when you're like, well, yeah, that you're taking the low hanging fruit there without getting to know like the real message that this team is trying to convey, and that the most storied franchise in the league, the Montreal Canadiens, seems to understand and get. And hell, the guy who's known as the best player of all time, Wayne Gretzky, the great one, also gets, because the first person, thing, people, organization that he thanked he didn't say the word Alex Ovechkin until he mentioned Brian Trottier and Bill Torrey and Al Arbor and the Islanders and Nassau Coliseum.
Right.
Like that's what I take from these moments, and it does make you a little proud. Because if you know kind of situation,
Right.
that this is a we throw beers on the ice occasionally. We there's been a rubber snake or two tossed at villains, but the organization as a whole is doing it from the right place, and so that was nice, and I just didn't expect anything other than what we saw, which was a really huge celebration. Anthony Beauvillier on the ice, which is great.
That was the one surprising thing about that goal, was that Beauvillier did not get an assist on it.
I know. That really was. But I mean, I to kind of answer your question, like I didn't have a problem with it. I thought that it was crazy. It was weird. It was jolting to watch at first, but
it was long too. I mean,
it was
long.
Yeah, but it was cool in a way, and like to a man, I thought everybody on the ice really that was involved did a great job.
Yeah. I thought I was going to hate it a lot more before it happened, because again, like you said, I was anticipating it happening, and I was like, oh my god, here we go. But once it started happening, I was actually kind of involved into it, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Again, it did get a little long, and I was like, okay, guys, let's get it going here. I did not expect Gretzky and Bettman to speak too, but I guess they did. I did find it funny. I mean, I've said this before, I think, on this show. I get it. Everybody loves booing Gary Bettman. He's a very booable guy. He looks like a kind of guy you just want to boo when you see, even if you saw him on the street. I do find it funny that Islanders fans are booing Gary Bettman, since A, he's one of us. This dude grew up going to games at Nassau Coliseum while he was in law school. But B, without Gary Bettman, the Islanders are probably playing someplace else. Like, let's be honest. He could have moved this team anywhere at any time just to wash what little hair he has left of them. But he didn't. And here they still are. So, me personally, if I was there, I wouldn't have been booing Gary Bettman, but I get why. He just at this point just sort of attracts boos like a moth to flame. But that's another story for another time. So eventually the ceremony did come to an end. The game did resume, and the real star of the show returned, and it was not Alex Ovechkin. It was Marc Gatcomb, who made it 3-1 Islanders. Beautiful pass from Matt Martin back in the lineup from behind the net to Gatcomb, and we're all like, are we on Marc Gatcomb hat trick watch? That's definitely something that nobody expected today. They end the period 3-1. They make it 4-1 in the third. JG Pageau kind of crashing the net. Sneaks it in just underneath Charlie Lindgren's glove. I didn't see it at first. Then they showed an angle from the side that made it very clear that the puck had crossed the line. Whatever, man. We'll take it. 4-1 Islanders. And that's how it ended. And it's so funny. Shout out to our friend Bud Lightlyman, who said in a tweet, the most Islanders possible outcome is that they win and Sorokin doesn't give up a single goal besides that one. He said that at 2:38, and the game didn't end until like an hour and a half later. So shout out to you, Bud Lightlyman, because you nailed it. They won. They got a win, and at that point, they were only 5 points out of the playoffs. We'll get back to that in a second. And Sorokin was very good in the game. I mean, the only goal he let up again was unstoppable. Like, what is he going to do? Nobody's going to stop that thing. And he was very good. The game overall was pretty boring. The Caps outshot the Islanders 28-22. But honestly, the Islanders had more high danger chances. They looked like the more dangerous team. And, it was the kind of game that, much like its predecessor, which we're going to talk about in a minute, had the Islanders had a few more boring wins like this over the course of the season, they might not be 5 points out of the playoffs. They might be, 2 points up on the playoffs or something like that. But overall, this was as tidy a win as they've had all season long, except for the incredibly historic goal and 20-minute long ceremony in the middle. And so it was a very weird game in that respect. But overall, I don't know. I thought the game was sort of fine for the most part, aside from that middle part.
Yeah, it was. And it's just got me thinking about how, it's just annoying the hockey media really is. And everything's just
going to get worse. Yeah.
It's just going to get beat to death and stuff. And I can't wait for someone to say, like, this was a good test test run for the Islanders hosting the All-Star game next. They showed off their building. They've wanted to show off this building for years. They've been in the building for 4 years. You could have just come anytime and seen the building. It's on TV sometimes also. They want to show what they're doing here. Come on down. If you ever want to take a chance, you can learn who Marc Gatcomb is on a nice Tuesday night against the Nashville Predators instead of waiting until Alex Ovechkin breaks a record. But it's just go on.
No, I was going to say just real quick on Ovechkin himself. I'm not going to begrudge this guy for scoring 895 career goals. That's an amazing accomplishment. I'm not going to begrudge Wayne Gretzky. I love how the new thing is, well, Gretzky didn't play against real goalies. I've heard this about Mike Bossy too. The goalies back then weren't. All right, guys, like, come on, really? We're gonna play this game now. Like, these are amazing.
He's getting chased around by guys swinging 3-pound pieces of lumber at him.
Like, you don't score almost 900 career goals, or in Mike Bossy's case, 374 career goals by accident. Like, these are spectacular accomplishments. Nobody thought this record would ever be broken. Gretzky still has more assists than anybody has points. So anybody that thinks that Gretzky is going home crying because Ovechkin has his goals record, I think is mistaken. I think he's still doing okay. And that record right there, the points record, and the 19 series playoff streak are probably the two records left in NHL history that will never be broken. I mean, that streak right there, the Lightning have come as close as anybody ever has to beating the Islanders streak by winning 2 straight cups and going to a third final. And they still came up, eight series short of topping that record. So, like, if somebody's going to go out there and win 5 straight Stanley Cups, God bless, right? Like, that's fine, then go for it. But I highly, highly doubt that record is going to be topped.
And we just recorded a Weird Islanders episode talking about the dynasty. And one of the craziest underreported parts in that is that 16 players won all 4 Stanley Cups. Got it too. So,
and they never went to a game 7. A couple of game 5s because that was how the rounds worked, but never a game 7.
And so it's just it is, and that's the point, right? Like, we're at a point in sports media where it's not 1968, so you don't need somebody at Yankee Stadium to tell you what it was like to be there when the Mick hit his 600th career home run, because you can't even watch the game. It's on radio. But that's how these people kind of still treat it. Like, I guess I just don't care to hear from anyone from The Athletic about like what it was like to see Alex Ovechkin and what it means. I've watched Alex Ovechkin score hundreds and hundreds of goals in my life. It's not what we need anymore. And to kind of just like tie that all up, like you said, it's just it's such a crazy accomplishment. And like Alex Ovechkin, the player, because I cannot stand Sidney Crosby, and I can't stand being told over and over and over again, you're not a hockey fan if you can't respect and like Sidney Crosby. And then you have to be like, well, no, I actually despise the man. Like, I hate his guts. and you come off as a deranged person when you say that. Like, for some reason, Ovechkin has kind of just been like the antidote to that in a little bit, as these things kind of go with like Bird and Magic and other players. And so it's like one or the other, I guess. And I always kind of just lean towards Ovechkin as a player more than Crosby. So like there was also like none of that to it. This wasn't Austin Matthews or Sidney Crosby breaking a record. The Islanders have already been posterized enough by Lemieux and Crosby. There's a freaking statue of Richard Pilon outside the PPG Paints Arena.
And Gretzky. I saw Gretzky's last goal scored against friggin' Wade Flaherty and the Islanders at the Garden. Like, I've seen both of these events now. I don't need to see these. Right. Please stop.
Right. So yeah, it's just like I think we understand the gravitas of the situation. Like, everyone gets it. One man who definitely understood it was Ilya Sorokin, by the way, too. Because how often did you hear throughout the year, oh, you don't want to be the goalie to give up that goal, right? Seemed like Sorokin lapped it up. And I don't understand. I know that a lot of people get on him for his performance this season. I still will defend him because of the way the team has gone in front of him and whatever. And I can't even begin to think of where this team would be without this guy in goal. And he also just seems to have like the best attitude, and it seems people really I mean, Ovechkin loves him. You could tell, like, Alex Ovechkin loves this guy, and he seems so unbothered by it. I couldn't, like, I was very proud of a lot of people during this moment. Alex Ovechkin wasn't one of them, just because he's just not on my team, but Sorokin, man, he was. And I got nothing but love for that man, huh? Like, he's just he gives up that goal, sticks around. Ovechkin kind of chirps him a bit, I guess. And then after the game's like signing sticks, taking pictures. There he is with like Wayne Gretzky. He doesn't really speak the best English still, so I don't think he understood anything that was being said during the ceremony. I think that's what he said. Like, he didn't know that Ovechkin said something to him, and Romanov had to like tell him what happened afterwards. And he's like, okay, I'll just, and then someone's like, how did that make you feel? He's like, it's okay, I'll do it again. Like, it's
Ovechkin asked for his stick. He wanted Sorokin's stick for that. So yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously, listen, they're countrymen. It's significant to the two of them. Ovechkin said it too. Like, having a Russian player score on a Russian goalie is a huge moment. And so, that's fine. I'm fine with it. It's going to be somebody. Actually, the funny thing is the way the goal was scored, Sorokin's barely even in the shot. Like, he's not anywhere near. And I don't think anybody else is near him either. So
also, just because you brought it up before, but Wade Flaherty, it's also like he scored against Ilya Sorokin. He scored again. Right. This isn't Wade Flaherty, and it's like the Mark Lawrence is out there. This is a very different Islanders team than those ones, where you got like accomplished 1,000-game players out there, and so it does feel very different from something like that, where, like you said, it's like there's Eric Fichaud giving up a goal to Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux in a 7-1 loss for the Islanders in front of 11 people in the stands, right? It's it just felt, I don't know. It now, the more and more I think and kind of talk through it, the more and more I'm almost, because once again it was inevitable to happen, I'm like kind of just okay with being a part of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm laughing thinking it over, and I was so like mad walking into it before it actually happened, and now I find myself kind of laughing about the whole thing. But the only bad outcome of this is that Marc Gatcomb never got his hat trick, and in fact wasn't even one of there was only one star given out after the game, and it was to Ovechkin. It wasn't even Gatcomb. Couldn't even be the first or second star in his only 2-goal game in the NHL, which is kind of unfortunate. But it was a historic thing, and if you're mad about it, again, I totally get it. You don't have to think the way we do, but just know that you're going to be seeing that clip a lot this week. But the good news is, and for the rest of your life, you're going to be seeing that clip. But the good news is, you're also going to be hearing a lot about how classy the Islanders were and how they did that thing and how cool it was that they, kind of participated in this whole thing. So, now we can all move on. And even Ovechkin was like, thank God, now I can move on. I don't have to answer the questions about this anymore. And a reminder that they are playing the Capitals next week. So prepare for goal 900 and something being scored at that point too. I should also say, by the way, we were not the first to make the Marc Gatcomb joke at the beginning of the show. Dom, shout out at Lighthouse Hockey. Also, his headline was Marc Gatcomb's 2-goal game highlights Islanders 4-1 win or something like that. So great. Okay. Moving on to the other 2 games of the week. This was actually, believe it or not, this was the Islanders' second win in a row. They actually won a game on Friday night against a team they almost never beat, and that is the Minnesota Wild. And we are going to have, in the second half of this episode, another engagement of the Michael Russo Mysteries, celebrating that Minnesota Wild victory. It was a 3-1 win for the Islanders that night. It started out in typical sort of 24-25 Islanders fashion, with a Mats Zuccarello shot going off the glass, going off of Ilya Sorokin's head and in, and making it 1-0 Minnesota. And this is the exact kind of goal I was afraid Ovechkin was going to score. And fortunately it didn't work out that way. It was just embarrassing and stupid, but what are you going to do? But then the Islanders got right back into it. Casey Cizikas tipped a Noah Dobson shot. And then Simon Holmstrom on rush sneaks one in on the short side. All of a sudden, bang, bang, it's 2-1 Islanders. Bo Horvat pushes Jacob Middleton into the boards. Kind of a scary injury, but they kill the penalty off. And then the third, Dobson from distance makes it 3-1. So actually a pretty nice game from Noah, all things considered. Again, a rare sight this season, 1 goal and 1 assist. Sorokin again was terrific. 27 saves, very good. Aside from the 1 goofball goal against for him, and Philip Gustafsson made 24 saves. Snapped the 6-game losing streak. This was easily one of the most boring games of the year. Minnesota Wild games do tend to be boring, at least from my perspective. There was no Kirill Kaprizov in this game, no Jared Spurgeon. They've been out for a long time. They eventually snapped their own losing streak today with a overtime victory over Dallas because they were really floundering and really keeping barely hanging on to their playoff hopes. But again, we're going to get into that during the Michael Russo Mysteries. But again, I said it before, and this is what made me think of it in the first place. A few more boring wins like this back in November or December, and we might be talking about a very, very different Islanders season at this point. But what'd you make of this game? Of all the hockey games I've seen in my life, this was definitely one of them. Like, that's the only thing I can really say about it.
Yep, it just made me mad, honestly, because I didn't watch it too. This was the first game of the season.
Didn't miss anything.
Yeah, and it was the first game of the season where not only I didn't watch it, I didn't even check the score, and I had no vested interest in this game. That was it. The season ended for me when they had lost those games to the Lightning. It probably should have ended months and months ago. And that was it. Like, I just couldn't bring myself to find any reason to watch this game, be excited about it. It felt very, last couple weeks of 2021, 22,
right.
Or the last year with the guy that we drafted instead of Victor Hedman when we lost out on Victor Hedman in that draft. And we've all been through these seasons where you're just playing out the string, and the first game when it happens is the hardest one to get over and to get through. And I got through that one, didn't watch any of it, saw the score, and it just kind of got mad because, as you said, it's from looking around, everyone said the same thing you did, which was well played game. Where the hell was this?
Right.
We're not even asking for it hey, where was this all season? It was, where was this 5 more times?
Yeah, that's it. That's all he needed.
You didn't even to win those 5 games. If you just played like that 5 more times, you won 3 of those instead of the way that you played. Whatever. The Islanders are in a different spot. And it felt weird because of the Duclair stuff, which we'll get into too.
Yes.
Like, it felt, we've said it a lot, like the season when they opened up UBS Arena, that Murphy's Law season, that losing does have consequences. Like, it's just, when you have a losing year, you don't make the playoffs in the NHL, heads just tend to roll, and it doesn't always end up being the player or the coach or the executive that you think. It just ends up, things get frayed, situations sour, and the consequences start to rear their heads right around now, when people can see the end of the season, and everyone's frustrated. They're frustrated with one another. They've just played an entire NHL season or coached one together, and it's not going well. And they're watching other teams take the playoffs, get ready for the playoffs, and they're not. And all that kind of just will end up boiling over, and something ends up getting ugly no matter what. I don't even know if this is one of those situations, but it just felt like the first bit of smoke to a fire that I just am not ready to deal with right now. I was like, couldn't we just scratch the guy and move on? And because it's the way that, one thing I do appreciate about Patrick Roy is his personality, and he's very quotable. It's funny sometimes. Other times it gets him in trouble. It's bizarre to see Patrick Roy say stuff like this while wearing an Islanders emblem on his chest, because A, it's Patrick Roy, and B, it's just not the type of thing that you've heard from Islander coaches in a long time, and especially in this regime. But as soon as that quote came out, you just knew, oh, there's going to be a graphic made of this from those viral hockey accounts, and there it goes, and everyone's making fun of the Duclair signing, when at the time it was kind of universally praised across the board as just a tidy piece of business. And he played 5 good games to start the season. Everybody thought that because him and Barzal and Horvat played well in the preseason, it meant that these guys were going to have gangbuster season together. Turns out that Matt Barzal would miss 52 out of 82 games, and Duclair's like not too far behind on that. And he gets hurt 5 games in and was just clearly not himself from that point on. And who knows where this goes now? And it's not just him, right? Like this isn't even just about Duclair. It's kind of about a few of the players that have been in Chateau de Bow Wow the past few months, whether it be Scott Mayfield. I mean, Scott Perunovich was in the building tonight to see the Islanders lose, and who knows what,
still on the team.
Still on the team. Yep. Obviously I think the writing's on the wall for someone like Matt Martin. There's Pierre Engvall. It's just, I mean, there's a bunch of weird situations for the Islanders that they're going to have to deal with. And this felt like the first one kind of coming to a head a little bit. And I mean, who knows if the coach is back? Who knows if the GM is back? Nobody knows any of these answers. And it's a lot less fun to think about these kind of things than to be like, ooh, can we beat the Capitals in round 1? If we get lucky in game 1, we can steal game. Maybe we even steal game 2 too. But instead you're dealing with this. So all of that put me in a mood to just not want to deal with watching that game. And I was happy that I didn't.
Well, you didn't miss anything. And honestly, considering the game that happened before that, which was the 4-1 loss to the Lightning, I don't blame you at all. And I don't blame anybody for not wanting to watch that game against Minnesota, a team that I almost never want to watch, even with Kirill Kaprizov. But I mean, we don't need to get too far into it because the big story is what you talked about, the Duclair thing. But I mean, they never really threatened in this game at all. I mean, the Islanders had good pressure early, but then the Lightning scored. Horvat had a nice goal, but then again, Dobson was completely out to lunch in this game. He almost gave up a goal to Yanni Gourde by just lazily crossing in front of his own net, and Gourde was right there, and he almost shoveled the puck underneath Sorokin. It was kind of bizarre. The Islanders had a chance down 3-1 in the third to get back into it with a power play, but then of course Lee takes a penalty. That was the end of that. There weren't a ton of chances either way, and Nick Paul ended it with an empty net goal. And then, of course, making matters worse was that right after the game, Nick Suzuki in Montreal ties the Habs game with 10 seconds to go and then scores in overtime. So the Islanders went from being 3 points back to being 5 points back in the blink of an eye. This was their 6th straight loss. It was absolutely awful. And then after the game, the only thing anybody wants to talk about is Patrick Waugh saying that Duclair was god awful. He was lucky to be playing. And then a couple of days later, he was decided that Duclair was going to get sent home to reflect on his season. They had a long talk and everything. I saw people saying in various places that this is, the Islanders are a clown show. We're back to the circus, times and everything. I see it completely differently. To me, sending Duclair home in a season, as you just said, dude's been hurt. He's been out of the lineup. Even when he was playing, he clearly wasn't ready. I mean, he's played, 40 something games this year. If he's been healthy in half of them, I'd be surprised, right? Sending him home to think and reflect and just take time off with 6 games left now, and the rest of there's 9 games left at the time in a season the Islanders are most likely not going to the playoffs, seems like a very humane and a very human decision to make. And this is the kind of stuff that Lou Lamoriello does that makes players that he has traded away or gotten rid of or got into tough negotiations with still love this guy because he thinks about the human side of things first. Now, the flip side of that coin is when the Islanders sign everybody to long-term extensions and they don't make any changes, and we're watching the same stale-ass team for the last 5 years. But that's, again, like you said, that's the territory. That's just kind of what comes with it. So to me, sending Duclair home, letting him reflect on these things was a humane decision. It's okay. Right. It was hard watching this dude play for as long as we watch him play. And honestly, the Islanders have played better since he's not been here. So I don't know, maybe there's something to that too. But I thought it was fine. It's okay.
It is fine. Yeah, it's just I should have been the way that it was what would you call it? The way that it was kind of presented, I guess, is what I'm talking about. It felt like this was the first kind of step because it got everyone talking about how oh man, this sounds like a coach who's quitting. This sounds like a player who's going to request a trade and all that stuff. And that's just because they're on a losing team right now. That's it. And like you said, this is the right thing to do on a human level, but nobody's going to say that because of the way that this was couched with the quote. It's a very quotable quote, very graphicable quote. the fact that everyone's looking at, oh my God, Anthony Duclair has 7 goals this season in his first year of a 4-year contract, and nobody's going to punt on the context of, well, he shredded his groin or something 5 games in and has only played 44. So, he's not been good, but there's a actual physical reason why. And that's what I mean when I say losing has consequences. It's like these things are going to get blown out of proportion. And this one will be the first one too, because nobody will, as you said, nobody's going to be like, yeah, well, Lou Lamoriello's doing the right thing by this person and player and guy that is going to be back next year because he's on this contract. So good for the Islanders and good for Lou. It's LOL, like, Lou, good. Are you good? Are you going to extend him for another 8 years? And there's going to be, my point is, there's going to be more of that. Like, no matter what, there's going to be more of that to come when somebody reports in the summer, oh, maybe Scott Mayfield the Islanders are going to shop him or buy him out, or Pierre Engvall, and everyone's going to be, LOL, Lou. Like, it's just going to get worse before it gets better, because, as I keep saying, losing does have consequences here. So Duclair, that's his first Islander season done. 7 goals, basically. 4 assists, 11 points, and a minus 15 in 44 games. That gives him the 1 more point than Dennis Cholowski in 11 more games.
Well, that was my biggest problem with the Duclair thing, which is that here we are, kind of was ripping Duclair for having a bad season, looking god awful, looking checked out, all that stuff. Meanwhile, at the time, Duclair had 11 points and Kyle McLean had 9 in 77 games. Now, in his 78th or 9th game or whatever, McLean has finally matched Duclair because he had 2 assists today against the Capitals. But I'm like, so in 77 games, Kyle McLean has done less than Duclair has done in half the amount of games, and yet crickets. We never hear about McLean dogging it or whatever, or maybe he's playing, he's hitting, or he's doing, he's playing tough out there. Like, who cares? Like, maybe if he had more than 9 points this season, again, the Islanders would be in a better place. So that sort of annoyed me. But the Duclair stuff.
Well, that's and it seems that that's part of the. It's not an Islanders problem. It's like every team has it. Where just accountability is only accountable. Only certain kind of players are held accountable. Like, there's no reason why Scott Mayfield has been scratched over like Ryan Pulock every game and situations like that. Like, Max Siplikov will sit, but you said it right. I know he's not a center, but why isn't Kyle McLean or Hudson Fasching still in the lineup? And every game, he's not playing terribly right now, but Hudson Fasching has less goals this season than Ilya Sorokin has. So, like, it's.
I mean, you can't make it up. You can't make it up.
He's still on 2 points, I think, unless he got a point today. He's on 2 in 36.
He was very active today. If you told me Fasching led the Islanders in ice time today among forwards, I would totally believe you, because it felt like he was on for every other shift. I don't understand
the crazy
what he's
thing
doing.
about him is, like, he is noticeable out there, because it does look like he's like a golden retriever, like, just running around on the ice. And then you look up and you're like, oh, he still only has 2 goals, 2 assists and no goals in 36 games. That's impressive. Between him and Matt Martin, they've played 61 games this season, and they have between them 0 goals and 4 assists, because Martin picked up 1 today, and a great play. And it's nice to see Matt Martin back in the lineup. I hope he stays there for the rest of the season. So that's a tough look when this list of luminaries are ahead of you in the scoring race for the Islanders, despite playing less games almost across the board. That's Grant Hutton has as many points as Hudson Fasching, as does Mike Riley, who's played 17 games. Scott Perunovich, the aforementioned, has 9 games, and he's got 3 points. I can't believe he's played 9 games for the Islanders.
Wow, really?
I thought it was like 4. Former Islander Oliver Wahlstrom, 4 points in 27 games. Isaiah George, he's got 5 and 33.
Who's been in Bridgeport since December something? Yeah. Right.
Marc Gatcomb, of course, just scored 7 and 8 on the season today. Right. So that gives him 7 goals, 1 assist in 33 games. 8 goals, 1 assist in 33 games, giving him 9 points, which is the same as McLean. 1 more Then Adam Boquist, who has a defenseman forward, has 2 goals and 6 assists in 8 games. So all these players, Duclair, of course, Engvall, like all these players have more points than Hudson Fasching, and that's the frustrating bit here. It's like it's not just an Islander problem, as I said. Like, this is every team. Like, there are just some guys that do get held accountable and some that don't, and you'd like to see across the board something change, but Scott Mayfield's plus 14 on the season.
I haven't noticed Mayfield mistakes as nearly as much as I've noticed Dobson, Pullock, Pellick, for that matter. Those times, D'Angelo, for that matter. So yeah, I know it's been a weird one, and some of these exit meetings are going to be really, really interesting.
I wonder if Lou is going to sit down with Hudson Fasching and just start saying Grant Hutton, Dennis Cholowski,
Ilya Sorokin.
What do these players all have in common?
Right.
Well, they got more goals than me.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of office space. What is it that you say you do here?
Yeah.
Kinds of questions, But yeah, that's a problem for 2 weeks from now. But yeah, so again, that Lightning game feels like it happened a year ago. And obviously the Duclair thing ended up being the big story from that. But I think we're cool with that. And obviously the Islanders picked up 2 more huge wins. Now, unfortunately, with about 2 minutes left in the game, the Habs are still up 2-1 on the Nashville Predators. So the Islanders are very much likely to go back to 7 points out of the playoffs. I did appreciate, I meant to mention this before, I did appreciate the TNT crew constantly talking about how this was a huge game for the Islanders because they could get right back in the playoff picture. And it's like, guys, I know you're here to talk about Ovechkin. It's okay. We all understand it. And this is the Islanders talking point, but I'm here to tell you, we don't need to worry about the playoffs so much around here. But I did appreciate that.
Even Rick Bowness said it during the intermission. He's like, these guys are fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, my man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Mathematically, yes, 100%.
Yes, but... and they'll say it. And honestly, like, there is something to be proud of that they are not just kind of go, and of course, would it be better for the franchise overall if they just go quietly in the good night? Probably, but at the same time, like, this team is just not going to do that, and there's something to be proud, take pride in that. Bo Horvat and Kyle Palmieri and Anders Lee, and they're going to be like, no, we're going to go 6-0-0 here to close out the season, and if the Canadians want to still make the playoffs for that, we'll tip our caps to them, but we're just going to go do that, and they believe it. But we just don't, because hey guys, I watched you play against the Chicago Blackhawks that night, and I watched you play against Utah Hockey Club night 1 of the season, and
remember when you guys got shut out by the Anaheim Ducks and then scored 1 goal against the Columbus Blue Jackets? Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
In the same week, but
exactly.
So, but anyway, okay, that covers this week. It was a lot, and so today was a lot, but they're all in the books, and we're always in a much better mood here when the Islanders win, even if it doesn't ultimately amount to a whole hill of beans, and they're still 7 points out of the playoffs. But we're going to take a break. We're going to come back on the other side. We're going to talk about the games coming up this week, of which there are many, and we are going to dive back into a new favorite, the Michael Russo Mysteries. So join us on the other side. Thanks. And now, a word from our sponsors. First is always VintageIceHockey.com, where you can get t-shirts, hoodies, jerseys, and more featuring over 100 classic hockey logos. Vintage Ice Hockey now carries a full line of Islanders Anxiety merch featuring our blue and orange brain logo, as well as our Al Arbor and the Island shirts. And as always, our portion of the sales go directly to the Center for Dementia Research. That is VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. They offer a Rosé, a Pinot Grigio, and a Pinot Noir that was named a Top 100 Best Buy by Wine Enthusiast magazine. All are delicious, priced at less than $15 a bottle, and available at local wine shops and at UBS Arena. Learn more at thepinotproject.com. Please drink responsibly.
Lowe's knows member-only doorbuster deals make SpringFest savings even better.
Right now, Rewards members can get 3 19.3-ounce Bonnie Plants vegetables and herbs for just $10. Plus, save $50 on a Charbroil Performance Series 4-burner grill, now $149. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/7, excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location, subject to change. While supplies last. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms.
Wow, this house is cute. But can I really get in the game in this economy? I do have savings, and I am responsible-ish. Ugh, I should bury it. I'm being wild. But what if I'm not being wild, though? Could I actually score a...
Kick off your home buying journey with Zillow's new BuyAbility tool. It makes it easy to find out what you can afford, so you can get off the bench and onto the playing field with confidence. Check your BuyAbility, only on Zillow.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
You're the perfect blend of elegance and style, and your ride should be no different. The 2024 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid meets all your needs, from business to brunch and everywhere in between. With head-turning details like a sleek front end, plus stylish interior, and an available 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster and seamless tech integration. Okay, Hyundai. Visit HyundaiUSA.com to learn more about the new 2024 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to tell you that Michelob Ultra is giving you the chance to win tickets to the NBA Finals. That's right, the 2025 NBA Finals. Just head to MichelobUltra.com/NBA Finals. Michelob Ultra Courtside NBA Finals Sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents, excluding Maryland residents. 21 up. Begins at 9 a.m. EST on February 16, 2025. Ends on May 5th, 2025. See official rules at MichelobUltra.com/rules for price and details. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
So we are right now watching the countdown of the Montreal Canadiens Nashville Predators game. The Habs are still up 2-1 as we speak. And the Predators, though, are going to be back in your viewpoint very soon, because the Islanders are in Nashville on Tuesday. That's an 8 o'clock start. They are home to the Rangers on Thursday at 7:30. And then it is a pair of matinee games over the weekend, Saturday against Philly in Philly at 12:30, and then the Sunday the 13th in Newark against the Devils, and that's at 1 o'clock. So 12:30 on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday. We've been talking about it this whole time. They're, not mathematically eliminated, may not be mathematically eliminated until the season is finally over. And after that Devils game, there's only 2 more games after that. It's Caps and Blue Jackets. We'll talk about them next week. So, whether they win all 4 of these games or lose all 4 of these games, I don't know if it really makes all that much of a difference, because it's going to depend on what Montreal does. That being said, it would be nice to get 2 wins against the Predators in the same season after going many, many years without getting any wins against the Predators. And obviously they have to avenge their, a 4-0 shutout to the last time they played the Rangers? I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. And then, of course, you got 2 more division rivals there too. What's funny is that these are 4 winnable games. So theoretically, again, I find myself falling into this trap every time. The Islanders could win all 4 of these, but Montreal could probably win one of theirs, and it wouldn't matter much at all. And it just, the Islanders at that point are just ruining their draft status. You look at all 4 of these teams, none of them are really all that great. I mean, the Devils are obviously very good. They're the best of them, but they can kind of run hot or cold, and it seems like how somebody's always hurt at the time. What do you think of these 4 games here? Do you think they, go 3-1? You think they probably just, you ran out of gas in this today's game against the Capitals? What do you see when you look at these 4 together?
Yeah, I mean, I'll make a prediction, which is a bad, not a thing you want to do, and especially when it comes to the Islanders. But yeah. I do feel pretty good about this one, which is that, like, whatever the Islanders whatever would benefit them the most in terms of, like, whether it be in the playoff chase or the draft position, whatever would benefit them the most, they'll do the opposite. Like they'll win all 4 of these games, and even though there's got no chance to win the playoffs, like the Canadiens just won and they're back to 7 out. It's probably for the best that they just lose. I get that. I'm not going to root for them. I'm going to root for them to go 6-0 and get to 90 points and force the Habs to pick up 5 more, or 6 more on the season, or whatever it'll end up being. So that's what I'm going to root for. But that's not going to happen. That's what the opposite will happen if Montreal loses. Let's say like their next 3 games, the Islanders will also lose. If Montreal keeps winning, the Islanders will win. That's basically how I'm looking at it now, because that just seems to be how it goes. I mean, and it's just that's the fact that we're here at the end of the season is kind of just like enough of a positive for me, that just hearing you say that there's only 2 more games left after next week was.
We're almost through.
That was chicken soup for the soul. Because just think about where we've been taken this season, starting night 1. We even before that, starting in the preseason with all the hype about the power play, even though and being better, and the Duclair chemistry with Barzal and Horvat, and everything that was written about in the preseason about things they're going to work on just completely went the opposite direction. They're going to work on their 6-on-5. They blew too many games last year, so they're working on winning the big moments. Duclair is great with Barzal and Horvat.
Kyle McLean had his coming out party in the playoffs, and so he's going to be the new Casey Cizikas, which is giving a lot more. It actually takes a lot of pressure off Casey. So and Sorokin had his back surgery, so him and Varlamov will split things a lot more even this season. Ryan Pollock and Anna Pellick say they're going to get their swagger back. Yeah. So like all of this that's all before game 1 of the season, which was them blowing a lead to Utah, and from that point, we've just been on a journey that has now culminated. In one of the weirdest, most bizarre moments we'll all experience as a fan, which was the Ovechkin thing, where Gary Bettman, Wayne Gretzky, the director of the FBI, were all in the Islanders dressing room. Right.
And Marc Gatcomb spoke to Wayne Gretzky, he said that he congratulated the team on their sportsmanship. The tweet here from Ethan Sears is, Bettman, Gretzky, and FBI Director Kash Patel visited the Islanders dressing room at postgame. Marc Gatcomb said Gretzky congratulated them on their sportsmanship. That's like that. This season has been leading to that, to that tweet. Like, just think about if I came to you, if you made a great decision and decided that you were going to spend the entire Islanders hockey season in Nepal, and you just got back, and you said, "Oh, how's the Islanders season going?" And I said, "Oh, just read this tweet; it sums it up perfectly." And you're like, "Well, what? Who is Marc Gatcomb?"
Right?
What?
Yeah, seriously,
why is Wayne Gretzky talking to something called a Gatcomb and telling him he's a very good sportsman? So that's where I'm at, and that's where the season has led us to. And so these 4 games, will hopefully, they'll probably have some weird stuff happen to it. Because that's just what's to be expected. But yeah, hopefully they go 4-0, and we're talking on Sunday saying, well, if they win these next 2, they're in. But I highly doubt it.
I highly doubt it too. Also, I don't know if there's photo evidence of that meeting in the locker room, but if there is, I guarantee you it is not nearly as cool as the visit to the Islanders locker room at Barclays Center by Ja Rule, who loved I think it was Tavares, Calvin DeHaan, and Ja Rule were pictured after a game. And
my God,
that's still one of my favorite all-time Islanders locker room visit photos. Come on, it's Ja Rule, right? Like, come on, that's great. Anyway,
that rubber chicken, that was the season.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what happened to the chicken? Oh man, I'll forget it. Well, we'll see. Maybe they're bringing the Elvis chicken to Nashville with them. You never know. But anyway, I'm with you. I mean, they could win all 4 of these. They could win all 4 of these. Just, I mean, can we at least beat the Rangers? Like, can we at least do that?
It would be nice.
That's the one I think I'd really like.
It would be nice if like they can, let's say they beat Nashville and Tuesday, and maybe the Canadiens will lose a game. Right. For once, like that's now 5 in a row for Montreal, so they're not going to win 5 in a row to close out to and go into
Right.
the playoffs on a 10-game winning streak. So I'd assume let's hope that one of the games they lose is on Tuesday, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, they're only 5 back with a game in hand. If they beat the Rangers, they eliminate the Rangers and they pull within 3. And at least like give, what I'm saying? I just want to have that game on Thursday be the Super Bowl. Well, that's
Right.
it. Like if you can pull me back in for that one game only, that's fine. Get my hopes up just so I can watch Will Cooley header a puck over Ilya Sorokin's head again. Johnny Brodzinski just hitting 26-foot jumpers from the blue line.
Who's that? Who's the new guy? Gabe Perreault. He's gonna get a goal for sure.
First NHL goal and hat trick for Gabe Perreault.
Yeah.
To spur the Rangers to a win. And as I keep joking with you, I feel like every time I look up, like the Rangers are like in the playoffs somehow. Like the NHL's just like, let's see if anyone notices if we just sneak these guys
slide
in.
them in.
Yeah.
Right. I would like maybe Marc Gatcomb can make that his first hat trick game. And then he can be the first star of the week, or whatever. So, but anyway, we'll see. And again, regardless of how these games go, there's only 6 left. These 4 and then 2 more, and then we are home free. Barring one of the most miraculous finishes in the history of the NHL, and we've seen one of those already. This would be more miraculous than that.
Just need Randy Robitaille and Ryan Smith to walk into that door, baby. Where's Wade?
Exactly.
Oh man, we're almost a year removed from the famous Wade Dublowitz video from a aircraft carrier or whatever the fuck he was.
He's from the set of The Abyss, like he's on that giant oil rig or a deep sea oil rig thing. But anyway, I know we could have used him. Anyway, so we'll see. But we'll be back next week again. It's an early start, so we'll be back after that Devils game. It's only a 1:00 start. We'll talk it out, and then we'll see where we're going to go, what's going to happen for the last week of the season. Okay, final bit. We talked about the Minnesota Wild earlier. Their loss to the Islanders was pretty tough at the time because they were sliding. The Blues had won 12 in a row. I don't know if they won or played today, but put together a 12-game winning streak. You're going to move up the ladder, and the Blues just jumped straight over the Wild into 7th place in the West. And the Wild were basically in the same spot that the Habs were in the East, about 5 points up on Calgary. And things were sliding. They were still without Kaprizov, without Spurgeon. Things were not looking great. And believe it or not, Marc-Andre Fleury could not pull them miraculously into a playoff spot just by sheer force of his own will. And so losing to the Islanders, which even in any case is, kind of a slap in the face, this particular loss to the Islanders was terrible. I mean, the Wild never lose to the Islanders, but this one broke the brain. This one broke the brain of our favorite Minnesota Wild beat writer, Michael Russo. And so it is time once again to visit the Michael Russo Mysteries. Okay, so I have one article here with 3 specific sections, and as we did last time, I'm going to read a section out. I'm going to remove the person's name, and Mike, you will have to guess who it is. I will give you a spoiler. None of these people are Marc-Andre Fleury.
No.
Because he didn't play, so they didn't talk to him. So,
well, I'm sure they did. Sure.
Somebody talked to him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and shame on the Islanders for not having a ceremony for Marc-Andre Fleury.
It's so funny. I thought of that too. I was surprised they didn't do anything for his last visit.
I wasn't surprised they didn't do anything. I was surprised that Michael Russo didn't bring up the fact that the Islanders real classy from Lou Lamoriello, right? Am I right? Athletic Slack chat.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Anyway, I did think about that because we had talked about that, but no Fleury this time. Just a bunch of other guys. So. Are you ready for the second edition of the Michael Russo Mysteries?
I sure am.
Okay. So the title of this particular edition of the Michael Russo Mysteries is Wild's Playoff Spot Becoming Perilous as Tensions Rise and Losses Mount. And this, of course, is at The Athletic. And this is right in the beginning. And the quote here that I'm going to read it. This is three paragraphs, and the third one is a quote. And the quote maker is the person you're going to have to guess. So here we go. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. So Michael Russo writes, the Wild had no pushback, no ability to muster any offensive execution to come from behind and beat a team that was on a 6-game winless skid and hadn't beaten the Wild in 6 games dating to December 2019. And once Yakov Trenin took a careless high-sticking penalty in the third, one lost face-off later, Noah Dobson gave the Islanders a 3-1 stranglehold they'd easily ride to the finish line. Quote, I don't really have much to say right now, to be honest with you, he said. I'm so sick of standing here and telling you guys this and that. I'm sorry. It's just not good enough. No, I don't really have anything good to say, honestly, about it. It sucks. They scored right away and took the momentum from us. The Wild are in treacherous waters right now. Okay. Dramatic stuff to kick off this edition of the Michael Russo Mystery. So, the Michael Russo Mystery. Who gave that quote about not really having anything good to say following this loss to the Islanders?
Was it John Hines?
It was not John Hines.
No.
Good guess. Not John Hines.
Was it, let's see, who else is on? Jonas Brodin?
No, I don't know if I've ever seen Jonas Brodin quoted in any story about the Wild, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it would make sense because I don't. This is the infatuation with the Wild, right? Like it's just a hilariously milquetoast team that one person in particular tries to turn into. They now have 2 writers at the Athletic too, which is great.
Oh yeah, they've had Joe Smith for a while. He came up from Tampa. He's
from they're like, we got to get this guy out of Tampa. They've won a couple. We can't keep covering this team.
The Lightning never do anything interesting anyway, right?
Yeah. That's the great thing too about the Athletic and the Capitals. There's no Capital. I don't think there's a Capitals beat writer.
Because Tarek Al-Bashir went to TV,
right?
And I don't think they ever replaced him. Yeah.
I mean, this Ovechkin guy. Do people care about him?
That's so funny. One more guess, I'll give you.
Billy.
It's a forward.
Well, let me guess. It's a forward. Matt Zuccarello.
Very good. You got it. Last shot. Matt Zuccarello, a Norwegian hobbit, former Ranger. Matt Zuccarello just was very sad after this game. Very sad, short man. Following this loss to the Islanders, he didn't really have anything good to say. It sucks. They score right away and took the momentum from us. Mats, buddy, this happens to the Islanders every single game. This happened 70-something times, my friend. Anyway,
they scored a goal off of Sorokin's head in this game.
Yeah.
Like that's
yes.
I like I said, I didn't watch it, but I saw. I think the first mention of the game I saw was from you in the group chat. It just said amazing, and I was like, oh, the Islanders are down 1-0, and I just assumed it was probably like maybe a power play goal for the Wild or something. And, then I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that's how many 1 in a million goals have been scored against the Islanders this season. Whether if it could be off of Sorokin's head, it could be off of Will Cooley's head, it could be off of it's just lobs, half volley from Sidney Crosby.
Right.
It's just bizarre, and so to see another one get scored, I was just like, great. Just keep piling them on. But anyways, let's continue with Michael Russo's Mysteries, please.
Yeah. No, that was a good way to start. But this next one, this is the big main event here. And this is a quote that I think is going to live with me for a very, very long time. So tensions were high. Set it right in the title. And so we have the second thing here. Again, we got some quotes here. So the referee in this case was
is it? I don't know. Someone very French.
Oh yeah, Francois.
Name. Yeah.
Francois Saint Laurent. Was the referee. Thank you. And so he only called a minor penalty on Bo Horvat when he pushed Jacob Middleton into the boards. Middleton left, with some assistance, and the Islanders killed the penalty. And this did not sit well with the Wild bench. And so these passages read like this. But what incensed the Wild is Saint Laurent called a minor penalty on Horvat, not a major. Hines was livid and called Saint Laurent over for an explanation. It was as angry as Hines has been on the bench at a referee. After the game, he walked out of the locker room with red eyes and yelled at the local beat writers not to ask Hines about the call, and instead go to the referee's room to ask, quote, that fucking asshole. He continued down the hallway, but when Hines walked out to address the media a few seconds later, he reappeared and screamed at Hines not to answer any questions about the call and that the writer should go ask, quote, that fucking asshole. Okay, so who is the he in this case that keeps telling reporters to not talk to John Hines about this they called a penalty on it. It was just a minor, not a major. Who keeps calling referee Francois Saint Laurent a fucking asshole and is red-eyed after the game?
Well, Kyle, if you ever watch this guy as a player, you might know that this is just who he is, and this is why he's been so successful as a hockey player and as a general manager, and that's why Team USA was quick to tap him to be the GM of the Four Nations Frozen Face-Off, and that would be former Islander Bill Guerin.
Yes,
and I would like to note that not once did I hear anyone be like, not a good look for the guy who was investigated for verbal abuse.
Wow.
Was that last season? Yeah, I think it was, or is it this season? Yeah, right. He got in trouble, but because Bill Guerin is someone who texts back and is okay to. A source inside the Wild says they're going to be in on Brock Nelson.
Right.
Nobody comes up with the hey, maybe that guy shouldn't be doing something like that. In fact, I would argue that nobody should be doing that because that's kind of against the rules. And I haven't seen anything about him being fined. But I do think that it's one of the it's a classic example of, yeah, Bill Guerin does it. It's funny and cool and grow the game kind of stuff. These guys just want to win so badly, Kyle. But if certain other people in hockey did it, it's, oh man, that was got to get this out of the game.
Right. How can you play for a person like this? You treat referees like this.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Verbally
Yeah. But he's just, for some reason, it's all okay if he's doing it. So
I just when I read this, I just started laughing, and because the idea of like a red-eyed Bill Guerin, like the Hulk, like he's got like the red, he's like, oh, running through yelling that fucking asshole, blah, blah, all the time. I thought it was really funny, and I'm sure Francois Saint Laurent was really broken up about it. Again, they called a penalty. Like I don't. Now, again, I'm not. Again, Middleton was hurt. I hope he's okay. I didn't really follow up on it, but like they were kind of far from the boards, and Horvat sort of pushed him. I guess just trying to get him off the puck, and he went into the boards, and it's an unfortunate play, but it's not like they just let Bo skate, just scot-free. Like he got a penalty. I don't know what it was, not a vicious sort of play.
He didn't like Matt Rempe staple him into the boards. He extended his arms, it looked like, and
right. And dude, it's Bo Horvat. Does he have any penalty minutes this season?
It's not. It was very strange.
Right.
To see that reaction and once again how it wasn't covered. Was pretty telling. Because I didn't understand. I mean, honestly, I meant to actually mention this before, and I know that this is a subplot. It's not really related to the Michael Russo's Mysteries, but it's like one of those episodes of a TV show where they're like, it's like a crossover, and maybe we're teasing a different spin-off of Mass Relief Theater for our friends down in Raleigh. I thought it was very fun. Yeah. So I think the same night, that was Friday night, same night, the Canes and, the Canes and Capitals played a slobber knocker a couple nights before that one. So, and lot of fights, a lot of penalty minutes, but Jalen Chatfield suplexed Connor McMichael onto the ice during a fight when McMichael didn't have a helmet on. And it's like, maybe squeamish to watch. Like that's not a thing you want to do to somebody in the context of a hockey game or a hockey fight. I think I was, if you show me that play and you're like, should you suspend this guy? I'd be like, yeah, that's probably the most suspendable play I've seen all season. I think you should probably suspend this guy for 20 games.
Yeah, that play reminded me a lot of like it looked like a wrestling move. Like he almost gave him like a Death Valley driver almost. And it reminded me a lot of Mick Vukota, who used a lot of like wrestling moves in his fights. But again, it was a totally different era back then. you would have had to kill somebody to get suspended back then.
Right.
But yeah, no, you're 100% right.
And,
like
and nobody, the way I'll tie this back to our episode today is that nobody seemed to be up in arms about that, except for Ken Campbell. Ken Campbell was the only one. There's a great back and forth between Ken Campbell and our man Speck from last week's episode about the hit, and but outside of Campbell, nobody seemed to be mad because the people at the Hurricanes front office, whether it's the owner who definitely doesn't call the shots, or the GM, they text back, and so nobody wanted to stand up and be like, yeah, that was probably a play we got to get out of the game and maybe throw a suspension out, but because it was against it was a Hurricane. They didn't get mad. If it was Bo Horvat, someone's screaming, "Go ask that fucking asshole what's going on." But yes, Ken Campbell said after that Chatfield McMichael scrap, just a reminder, somebody's going to die from a head injury sustained in a hockey fight someday. I've been saying it for years now. Might be 10 years from now. Might be tomorrow night, but it will happen. It's inevitable. That was quote tweeted by our friend from last week's episode, Sportsnet Spec, Mark Spector. In the words of the great Brian Marchment, go play tennis, Kenny. Ken Campbell responds, why, Spec? Why should I do that? I love hockey. I've played, refereed, coached, and written about it all my life. Spec, you love the game, Ken. Then love it. For its beauty, for its flaws, for its history and its hiccups. It will never be perfect, like all of us. Life's too short to seek absolute perfection.
Wow, you got pretty philosophical there.
How is it going to get better than that prose from something as important as covering a hockey game? But I love that Mark Spector is using someone getting pile driven into the ice without a helmet on as like his moment that you can't ask for perfection. I think you could probably ask for a little bit more than somebody getting pile driven into the ice without a helmet on. I think that's fair to ask. But as Bill Guerin says, we shouldn't be asking anybody else besides the refs. Oh, ask that fucking asshole. It's just amazing how these things work, because that to me was both these incidents, the Guerin thing and then the Chatfield thing are just reminders of why, and you could kind of tell who gives access pretty easily by the way these kind of things are covered, except by us here at the Master Leaf Theater Studios. We treat everybody the same.
Exactly. No, you're right. And I'd see that's the funny thing too, is I completely forgotten about that Chatfield thing. Meanwhile, it was like an over the shoulder pile driver. It's really kind of great.
I didn't have a helmet on.
Didn't have a helmet on. and it was like, why? I don't understand. But if somebody wants to make, but we can't cut off the access to the greatest team ever assembled, the Carolina Hurricanes, the multi-time Stanley Cup champion Carolina Hurricanes. Okay, back to the Michael Russo Mysteries. We have one final segment here. And again, it's from the same article. This was a big time. Again, the Wild losing to the Islanders was a huge problem for them. They've righted it again. They got a huge win in overtime today, so I guess things will be okay for them. But if they end up missing the playoffs, this game is going to come back to haunt them, which is beautiful. But our final section here is a little bit like the Guerin section, but it's a little bit more muted. And the person is talking about, the Wild's losing streak, and Russo writes, after the game, he took umbrage when asked how he gets the morale up when the Wild need to, quote, stop the bleeding. He pointed out that they got a point in each of their previous 2 games and could have won them. But still, the Wild have been victorious once in 7 games and are going one way, while the Blues have passed them and the Flames are coming hard. So who took umbrage when asked how to get the Wild's morale up when they needed to stop the bleeding, which they did today?
Foligno?
Good guess. Not Marcus Foligno.
Freddie Goodrow?
No, not Freddie Goodrow. It is a person in a leadership position.
Yeah.
And it's somebody who you mentioned just a few minutes ago.
Not Jonas Brodin.
Not Jonas Brodin. No. I'll give you one more guess.
Bill Guerin?
No. Is actually John Hines. Coach John Hines.
John Hines, yes.
He took umbrage when asked how to get morale up. Pointed out they got points in their last 2 games, man. We could have won those games.
That sounds
we didn't, but we could have.
That sounds straight out of the Islanders playbook.
Right, yeah.
You're not going to believe me when I say this, but I thought we played pretty well despite a 5-1
Yeah,
loss.
exactly. I thought we had a good game, even though we lost 6-1.
Oh, God.
Anyway, that concludes the second edition of the Michael Russo Mysteries. So join us again, because if the Wild miss the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of this. And I can't wait to get to it.
It's so funny how I just despise that team. Like I just don't like them at all, and they are so irrelevant to the Islanders. But it's probably because of the way they're covered. Is part of it, and then the Islanders just don't beat them. So
right,
that's probably another part of it.
Well, they waited a long time to do it, and hopefully, again, it is meaningful. That's going to wrap it up. We talked a lot about a lot of stuff today, and we snuck in some Michael Russo mysteries. So that's great. We'll be back next week to cover the 4 games that are played. We are going to have our mailbag episode tomorrow night again. So if you want to hear it and ask a question, sign up at patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety, the Country Club tier, and get in there and ask. These are always a lot of fun, and they cover a wide range of topics. So don't be shy. Get in there. We did put out an episode of Weird Islanders, the podcast, last week that had a Minnesota vibe to it, because it's about a guy I have wanted to talk about since we started doing that show. And it is one-time Islander Tom Chorsky, who spent a season and 2 games with the Islanders. And we talked with our friend Tyler Gilden, filmmaker, great Islanders fan, great dude. He came to me and was like, hey, would Tom Chorsky count as a Weird Islander? Because I met him at a summer camp when I was a kid. And I was like, I was practically jumped into my computer. I'm like, dude, does he count? What are you talking about? I've been waiting to do this guy this whole time. And you met him as a kid at a summer camp. So it was a beautiful story. We got great pictures from Tyler, and it's one of my favorite episodes we've done this year. So please go back and listen to it. It was awesome.
Yeah. and not, we try not to spoil our Weird Islanders to come, but
right.
We have another one in the pipeline that turned into a double feature.
Yes.
Midway through.
We got a lot of great ones coming up. Like you said, we talked about some dynasty players for the first time ever. We just ended up with 1 and ended up with 2, which was great. And we have one coming up about another current player. That's our next one. So a guy who almost got traded at the trade deadline. And I was kind of worried about it, but check that out next week. That's next week. This week is Mailbag. Next week is Weird Islanders again. You can find all of our podcasts everywhere on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, audible.com, everywhere. Please leave us a review where you can. We really appreciate it. Our theme song is Morning Haze by Family Dinner. Listen to more of their music on Spotify. Check out their record, God Looks Out for Fools. Read Lighthouse Hockey every single day for most up-to-date Islanders news and discussion. Again, Dom and us are in sync. Marc Gatcomb was the star of today's game. Make no mistake. Islanders Anxiety podcasts are part of the Fans First Sports Network. Shop VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. Mike, where can everybody find you on Twitter?
The Big Lebowski with 2 E's, but I'm really hoping that by the time next season starts, that I'm just not on Twitter ever again, because it's just getting.
I do not blame you.
I am weaning off.
I don't miss it at all. Although I do occasionally get in there to DM people who still follow me there, but I'm on Blue Sky and I use it like maybe 1/56th of the amount of time I ever used Twitter, and it's rough. It's rough logging into Twitter these days, so I don't blame you. But follow Mike at the Big Lebowski for now, anyway. Any final thoughts on the many, many topics we covered today? Alex Ovechkin, Marc Gatcomb, or any other NHL great that we have seen pass through the Islanders in their history? We've seen some luminaries, and got to put Marc Gatcomb up against any of them.
Yeah, he put Marc Gatcomb against any of them. I think it was really telling that the Nassau Coliseum got some shine as well in a huge moment, because it's just such an important part of all of this. And that was touching. And also we said it a little bit, but I'll leave with this, that like I think there's a definite lesson to be learned from Ilya Sorokin today, and how he just was totally okay with being part of the moment. And I think a lot of goalies or players or professional athletes would have like sulked and not wanted to. I can tell you one person in particular who used to be the captain of the New York Islanders and was drafted before Victor Hedman in 2009, that if he was the guy who like gave up the goal to Ovechkin or maybe turned the puck over and it led to him, and he was like, yeah, Ovechkin's like, oh, I really want to take a picture with that guy. I don't see that person saying, yeah, no, I'm part of history, whatever. Whereas Sorokin took pictures with Ovechkin, his family, Gretzky and Ovechkin, signed sticks. It was just, I think there's something, I don't not quite know what it is exactly, but I do think that there is a really nice lesson in humanity to be learned from our friend Ilya Sorokin today.
I feel like there is I don't want to say childlikeness or, but it's like an innocence.
Yeah, innocence.
Almost.
Yeah,
like he's just happy to be here, know? And
yeah. I would think that's probably correct. Like he's just yeah.
Considering how cynical I've been about the Islanders season and the NHL in general, you're 100% right. I should take some lessons from Ilya Sorokin and just sit back and enjoy things a little bit, even if the Islanders don't make the playoffs and don't play any meaningful games for the rest of the next 2 weeks. But we'll see. We'll be back next week to cover the upcoming games and look ahead to the final two, possibly, of the season. Thanks again for listening. Please join us for our mailbag episode of the Patreon tomorrow night and check out that Weird Islanders episode from last week. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.